Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these live streams every single weekday. So please make sure to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We've got a lot to discuss today. We're going to be taking a look at the inflows and outflows from spot Bitcoin ETFs. But first, we need to talk about Solana. Solana as a network is down again. Now, we saw this quite frequently, to be honest, at the end of 2022 and throughout 2023, and this put off a lot of investors at the time. So I want to discuss this. I want to rewind and see what's happened in the history of Solana, why a lot of people from communities of Solana competitors really bash Solana for the problems we've seen, and now we're seeing it again. So is this the end of Solana? We've got a lot to discuss here today, so please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button. Let's first of all take a look at what's going on with the price of Bitcoin here. It is down 0.75% within the last 24 hours to $42,770. We're looking at Ethereum down slightly as well, but both only marginally, so nothing to be too concerned about there right now. We will analyze the price of Bitcoin at the end of today's stream, so make sure to stay tuned until the very end. In terms of biggest losers here today, we've got Monero down almost 16% in the last 24 hours. We've got FTX's token down another 9%. They are looking at repaying their investors. They have cancelled their plans to relaunch as an exchange, so FTT has been dumping within the last couple of days. And in terms of biggest gainers for the last 24 hours, we're looking at Arbitrum up 2.6%, IOTA up almost 2%, just some small changes here in terms of the markets, looking at those biggest gainers there. All of the markets have had slight movements within the last 24 hours, not massive changes here. The only massive change that we can look at here is Solana, because it is down, and everyone's getting crazy about this in the chat. Let's see what's going on here. Good morning, Justin. Matt says, Sol, lol. Jason Smith said, did the price of Solana take a dip each time the network went down? Solana is currently down 2%, I believe, following this dip. We will go into detail about this right now. Let's start on this. So essentially, the Solana blockchain has not had a new block since 9:52 UTC this morning. So we've not seen new blocks be created. And what does that mean for the Solana network? That means no transaction can be confirmed. When we add blocks to the blockchain, we are confirming transactions and processing those transactions essentially. But when we have no blocks being added to the blockchain, nothing can be moved on chain. Everything's just paused. Everything's in a standstill. This means we can't transfer our assets, and that clearly is a huge problem. Now, this isn't the first outage we've seen for Solana. Solana was a massive project that really came into everyone's views in 2021 in that previous bull market. Solana came out of nowhere, absolutely soared up to the top 20 tokens. It was performing incredibly well, and everyone was super excited about it back in 2021, but then we started to see these outages, and this scared a lot of people away from the project. If we take a look at the Solana network, you can see back in January 2022, there was a huge amount of outages here, partial outages of 16 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours, continuously in January 2022. As we go through 2022, you can see we had another one in April, May, another one in June, another one in September, October, and then again in February 2023. Now, these outages were pretty common in 2022. This was deterring a lot of people away from the project, but the percentage gains we were seeing during the 2021 bull market made it kind of easy to ignore. Solana was moving up and up and up in price, and people didn't really care too much that there were these outages. Yes, it may have in the short term affected the price a little bit, but people were super bullish on this project just because it had performed well, and that was enough to keep people bullish and overlook these outages. Now, this is something that I've looked at quite a couple of times, because we've not only seen the outages as a problem for Solana's price action since 2022, we also saw FTX holding a huge amount of Solana, which added that kind of extra factor to be a little bit more cautious around Solana, and that's why I'm not a Solana holder, because of these frequent outages we've seen, and because of FTX holding a huge amount of tokens. I've not chose to accumulate this within the bear market, but Solana had actually gone 1 year without an outage, so people were looking at it and going, do you know what, maybe they've improved enough, maybe we've got past those those first growing pains. We have to remember Solana was a pretty new project in that bull market. So those outages were seen as kind of the growing pains that we were bound to see, but we've grown past them, we've learned from them. But now, 1 year later, we are here again. So the last outage we saw for Solana was in February 2023, and this was for 18 hours and 50 minutes. And now we are seeing another one. Now, what we've got here is we don't actually know specifically why we have this outage. The outage is currently under investigation by Solana's engineers, with the main net beta clustered down. The term major outage has been aptly posted on the status page, implying that the situation is most likely severe. Luckily, all mainnet beta RPC nodes have remained operational, and the Explorer is set up, indicating that not all network functionalities are impaired, but the network is currently down once again. Now, this just gives me flashbacks back to those 2022 days where we did see that fit. But as I just said, the positive price action and the bullish momentum we saw in the Solana token helped people overlook this. And because Solana was a pretty new project, we could put it down to growing pains, and that helped us overlook this. But what if this is the start of this happening all over again? As the industry starts to grow again, as Solana needs to be more scalable, is this why we are seeing these issues? Let's take a look at what's going on in the chat here. Jason Smith says, I don't quite understand how you would reboot a blockchain network. Is there an explanatory video on CFC? No, I don't think there is an explanatory video on that. What we essentially need is because Solana is the proof of stake network, there's an outage. We don't know what that outage is for. The Solana team have not been so specific. It's probably really technical, so we probably wouldn't go into it in detail on this stream anyway. But essentially, we don't know what that problem is. But until we get more blocks put on the blockchain, no transactions can be processed essentially for the network. And that's why, as I was looking on the stream's live chat this morning, Jason Markwell said the network is not responding in Phantom. The network isn't responding. The network is down. We don't know when it's going to come up again. As I've said, we've seen outages before for 16 hours, 18 hours for Solana. So this might be the start of a very long day. So just be prepared for that. Matt Richardson said was tempted to buy Sol on the next price dip, thinking twice now. Well, this is what I'm really struggling with Solana. Because Solana performed incredibly well in 2021. It was one of the projects that I invested in early on, and it was probably one of my most profitable tokens in 2021. And I was a huge fan of it. I liked the project. I was reading through the white paper. I was liking the mission. I was liking how it was trying to combat different issues when it comes to the development of a blockchain, when it has its proof of history mechanisms and all of that kind of stuff. The actual project mission is super interesting, and the way it's combating issues is super interesting. But then we continued to see these outages, and that made me take a little bit of a step back from the project. We then saw FTX collapse, and they held a huge amount of Solana, causing the price of Solana to plummet massively when FTX went down. And that, again, made me think I don't want to be involved with this project. And then in the last couple of months, Solana has absolutely soared. And I'm like, how can this happen? How are people not looking at these outages, looking at FTX holding this amount of tokens and saying, do you know what? I don't want to touch this project yet. The markets have just done what I didn't expect them to do. I personally thought when FTX went down and when Solana had that huge jump off the back of FTX's bankruptcy, Solana was a goner. Every single bull market, we see different projects in the top 10. The top 10 projects do not stay the same because new projects will come in and completely break through into the space and have a huge impact and get into that top 10 ranking. And Solana managed to do that last time, but I thought maybe it was a one-hit wonder. It was a one 4-year cycle token and it was going to disappear. That has not been the case. Now, I'll hold my hands up and say that I did expect that. And that has not played out. Solana has gained a huge amount of traction. They've got a huge community. Their community are super bullish on Solana and really push Solana hard. And I think that really helps within the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And it's just continued to perform when I didn't expect it to. And every time we see a dip, I think, should I just edge my bets and invest a little bit in this project so I can reap some other rewards? And I have not done so far. I don't plan to, especially now we've seen another outage. It's like, how many more are we going to get of this? Solana surprised me in the last couple of weeks. I understand the temptation to buy the price dip. I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. I don't know what's best in this situation, but going off the history, going off all the problems, I always think to myself, if you are stuck on whether to invest in a project, look elsewhere, because there are thousands of cryptocurrency projects all on a mission. In a bull market, once they're absolutely terrible, will probably perform well. I mean, like, in a bull market, everything goes up at one point in time. It's absolutely crazy in a bull market. So when you're looking at a token and saying, oh, I should have invested in that, I should have invested in that, it's easy to say that, because all the tokens that you turn your nose up at and decide not to look into will perform well at some point in time. That's just how cryptocurrency works. But I personally just have to go with what I morally believe in, the project I see actually being used, what has the most utility, and what I think will be performing best as well, and sticking with those. It is so easy in cryptocurrency to say, I should have invested in that because now it's pumped. But you could probably say that about every single token you've looked at in 4 years' time, because the bull market does this to the market. So don't feel guilty about missing out on one opportunity because you will have used your money elsewhere and took advantage of another opportunity. Yes, we all want to get as much money as possible and make the most gains as possible and be in the token that's going to outperform the rest of the market. But I think it's really hard to decide what tokens are going to do that when you're looking at kind of the high cap category, the mid cap category, and the low cap category. There's limitations on them all. I mean, the high cap altcoins aren't going to see 100x gains, whereas the low cap coins have the opportunity. So if you're looking at tokens within a specific market cap, yes, some will outperform another, and it may be a significant amount, but I always prefer to go with the project that I believe in for the long term, because if you're investing in a project that you aren't 100% sure on and it doesn't go your way, you're going to be kicking yourself. Whereas if you invest in a project you're not 100% sure on, if you invest in a project you are 100% sure on, and a project that you weren't 100% confident on does a little bit better, it's fine. You hold your hands up, you say, do you know what, I had more confidence in this one, I believe in this one long term. If something happens to this one, I will be able to hodl, I will have those diamond hands because I believe in this one. If that one started to dip a little bit, I'd be getting fearful. And you want to trade with the least amount of emotions as possible. So I always say, just invest in the things that you have the most confidence in long term, because you are not then going to feel super huge amounts of fear if the market does take that turn to the downside. Bitcoin has 20-30% pullbacks in a bull market, and if you are invested in an altcoin that does a 50% pullback and you don't believe in it long term, you are not going to be sleeping at night. If you are invested in an altcoin that does a 50% pullback and you believe in it long term, you're going to be doing everything you can to buy the dip. And there's a very different ways of looking at it there, and historically in a bull market, buying those dips has been super profitable. Selling those dips has not been. So picking altcoins that you believe in long term, that you understand their utility and you believe it has a real use case, is going to change not only your portfolio but your mindset towards the markets. And I think changing your mindset towards the markets and working in a way that is going to be healthier is better than just investing in an altcoin because you think it's going to have bigger returns, because you can't foresee the emotions you are going to feel and the actions you are going to take during different dips. But let's take a look at what's going on in the chat here. Randy says, smash the likes, guys. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. It's only Tuesday and we're on a Friday Jess rant. I don't know what's happened here. I feel like I've really ranted there. Essentially, Solana is down. It has been down since 9:52 this morning UTC time. This is the first time in a year it has been down. I'm not footing this token at all. It's a top 10 project. It served me well in the last bull market. It's not a project that I'm invested into right now. It is down 2%. What essentially this means is there's no blocks being added onto the blockchain right now, so transactions on chain cannot be processed. Hopefully it will go live again as soon as possible. Jerome says Solana is not failing. Rob says, what coin would benefit most from Solana failing, do you think? I don't. Essentially, if we take a look at the markets right now, if we can look at the Solana competitors, we've obviously got Ethereum, we've got Polkadot, we've got Solana, we've got Cardano. If we take a look at the leading protocols, I don't personally see this outage as the end of Solana. We've seen outages before for lots of different projects. We've seen outages for Solana before for lots of different projects. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I don't think I would be looking at this as an opportunity to find another project that's going to scoop up all of Solana's market cap. I personally don't think that will be the case. I think Solana will be fine. I think it will continue through. It's continued through these before, as we've just been through the list of the dates of Solana's uptime. Where's it gone? Here we go. If we take a look through September 2022, all of these red blocks are where Solana saw an outage. Lots of outages in 2022 for Solana. It made it through those times. I'm pretty confident that it will do the same again. Then blockchain should be up within 24 hours time. I can't promise it, but that's what I'd expect to see. We don't actually know what the problem is yet, but we know that they usually have fixed these kind of problems within 24 hours. I'm not looking at it and saying, look, Solana's suddenly going to gain $40 billion because it's going to scoop up all of Solana's market cap. I'm not looking at it in that way. I'm just looking at the markets right now and just being aware this is a scenario, being aware this has happened before, and just maybe seeing that there may be some FUD spreading around here and Solana may have a little bit of a pullback here. But I've been on the rant now. I hope you understand where I'm coming from here. I'm not saying Solana is super bearish. I'm not saying not to invest in it. I'm just saying invest in things that are going to make you feel most confident in your portfolio, because it being confident in your portfolio is going to stop you from feeling super amounts of fear during a pullback and stop you from making emotional decisions. And that is the number one way to ruin your portfolio. But Solana, still brilliant project. Lots of projects being built on it at the moment. Lots of projects in the Solana ecosystem performing very, very well. Just one of those things. Hopefully it gets sorted as soon as possible. Let's see what else is going on here in the chat. Jerome says, how can people be selling? Well, you can sell, well, as long as the exchanges don't pause transactions. This is transactions. The Bitcoin blockchain has stopped. No blocks are being added onto the Bitcoin blockchain, so no transactions can be processed on chain. But off-chain transactions can still be processed if the exchanges are allowing that. I haven't seen any news about exchanges pausing transactions for Solana. I assume they have done. Let's take a look at this. Exchanges pause Solana transactions. Let's see if we've got anything here. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. Upbit announced it will suspend deposits and withdrawals of Solana-based tokens, but it doesn't say that they have paused exchange transactions. So somebody's just said in the chat they've just shorted Solana, so it seems that you can still trade Solana on centralized exchanges because these kinds of transactions are off-chain. It's only on-chain transactions which are the problem, which obviously depositing and withdrawing Solana-based tokens into exchanges is on-chain transactions. So it's just the difference between on-chain and off-chain. On-chain transactions can't be processed, off-chain transactions can be. Somebody's just said they've shorted Solana. Let's take a look at the price of Solana. Let's pull up the price chart and see what's going on here. So Sol USDT, if we take a look at this, down ever so slightly. If we go to the 1 hour chart, it's having a little bit of a bounce right now. Let's go into the 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart. Right now, having a little bit of a bounce. It's hard to determine. Do you want to go all the way back to the previous outage to see how it performed then? Let's go to Solana February 2023. There was an outage on the 25th of Feb 2023. So let's take a look at how this performed. 25th of Feb 2020. We're going to be scrolling here for days. 25th of Feb 2023. Let's take a look at this. We're on the 4 hour chart. Let's go on to the 1 hour chart. One more time. 25th of Feb 2023. Here we go. 25th. We're on the 18th, 22nd, 24th, 25th. So on the 25th, yeah, we did get a big pullback here on the 1 hour chart for Solana. If we take a look, I imagine that this candle with this huge wick is actually the candle where this initiated. Do we have a timestamp on here? No more information on that. Just on the 25th of February. That's all we know, but I imagine it's probably from this candle here. So if we take a look from when the outage started, we're probably looking at something like this, 6%. But that is a guess because we haven't zoomed in. We don't have the actual timestamp there. I would just imagine that wick is a result of this news first breaking. So yeah, in that previous outage, we did see Solana moving to the downside. I personally am not shorting this at the moment. Solana always shocks me. It always moves in the way I don't expect, so I just don't touch it. I stick to Bitcoin, I stick to Ethereum. Sometimes I will trade an altcoin if it's if I really want to. I did actually short Solana when FTX went down because I thought that was a pretty obvious play, and it went down like 10% in an hour. It was a pretty obvious decision in my mind. Right now, I don't know, Solana shocked me so much this year that I just don't want to touch it ever. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Mike says, what do you think people will do when they can send Sol to exchanges and sell it to Bitcoin? Well, this is exactly probably the fears that we are seeing right now, and maybe why Solana has moved down so far, 2% here. People's Solana is locked, and people don't want their tokens to be locked. That's why we moved to blockchains. We want to be able to be our own bank. We want to be able to make peer-to-peer payments. We want to be able to have full custody of our tokens and transact them whenever we want to, anywhere across the world. But right now, if you have Solana in a cold storage wallet, you can't make those transactions because there are no blocks being added to the blockchain and no transactions being processed. People don't like that. That makes them feel fearful. It makes them feel out of control with their funds and may cause a little bit of selling pressure that could be expected here. Let's see what's going on here. Matt Richardson says VCs propping up Sol saying everything is fine. Well, there are a huge amount of big investors in the Solana token as well to consider. Mike said, yeah, but Sol is up 10 times from the bottom. I know this is what I mean. Solana has had a massive pump this year. And as I was just saying earlier in today's stream, Solana isn't necessarily a token that I believed in for this bull market. Being completely honest and putting my hands up here, Solana had quite a few outages in 2022 and 2023, and that made me take a step back from the project. I invested in it a lot in 2021 and saw some nice profits in that bull market, but after seeing those outages, I chose to take a step back. Then FTX bought a huge amount of Solana token, and then FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and Solana saw this massive dump here. Now, after that happened, I personally predicted that was the end for Solana. I thought to myself, it has these outages, FTX hold a huge amount of it. Its price has plummeted. FTX still need to sell their tokens. Why is anyone going to touch this thing? But Solana has gone completely against my expectations and moved to the upside, which is completely shocking to me given all of the data that we have seen. And the Solana ecosystem has performed incredibly well as well. So yeah, you can say, look, Solana is up 10x from the bottom. I'm saying, look, I didn't predict this. And I don't want to try and predict what's next here because Solana is performing completely against what I would expect to happen here. So I'm not saying, look, I know exactly what's going to happen here. This is the end of Solana. I don't think this is the end for Solana. I think Solana is a coin that's just going to continue to shock me, but it's one that I'm personally staying away from. I'm not saying you should stay away from it too. I'm just saying it's doing some crazy things that I didn't expect. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Monkey Nut says we've got 36 people in today's stream on YouTube. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Right now, we are talking about Solana. Brandon E says Solana is highly manipulated coin. VCs took profit and they're going to let it go back to 60. This coin just continues to shock me. It does continue to shock me. That is why I've just said I'm not shorting this event. I'm not taking any position on this altcoin because every day I am shocked at the price that it is. I don't know how much higher it's going to go. I don't know how much lower it's going to go. I don't feel confident with my analysis with Solana, so I choose to look at other tokens instead. And that's completely fine. That is my decision that I've made a couple of months ago after the FTX collapsed. Let's see what else is going on in the news, though. I think we should move on from the Solana news here. We've seen these outages before. I'm sure Solana will survive. Hopefully we will see it back up within the next 24 hours and our transactions can be made. It will create a little bit of fear, but saying that, Solana has a super strong community that will fight through that fear in the industry. Mike says everything is fine, you just can't use your funds. Reminds me of banks. There's so many like super strong controversial arguments that you can put into this kind of this event and what's happened here. I think there's some real fear that could be spread over the fact that people cannot move their funds, but there's also it's probably going to be fine in 24 hours time, and the community is so strong that they will be able to kind of disperse all of that FUD and that fear. The Solana community is so strong, and I do believe that's the number one reason as to why it's been performing so well within the last couple of months. It's been a really interesting watch to see Solana change over the last couple of years in a way that I definitely did not expect. But let's take a look at what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here. Let's move on from Solana because we need to talk about Grayscale. Now, let me pull up a Grayscale, my information from yesterday. I pulled up some statistics on the Crypto Saving Experts TikTok account yesterday about Grayscale's selling here. So if you want to follow us on TikTok, make sure to go to Crypto Saving Experts on TikTok and check that out. But essentially what's been happening since the 11th of January is Grayscale have been selling approximately 350 Bitcoin per day. Now that is a huge amount of Bitcoin. If you take a look at this chart, you can see this is the amount of Bitcoin Grayscale have been selling each day. It looks like it has been kind of tailing off within the last couple of days, which is really positive. But overall, we have been seeing net inflows for these spot Bitcoin ETFs, which is exactly what we have wanted to see. And BlackRock and Fidelity have been seeing a huge amount of inflows here as well, with a huge amount of people choosing to invest in their Bitcoin ETFs. Now, we've been taking a look at what Grayscale is doing. They're seeing a huge amount of outflows, therefore having to sell some of their Bitcoin. And what we're seeing here is, look, they can't continue this selling, this outflow pressure can't continue forever. Grayscale only have a certain amount of Bitcoin in their trust, essentially. So when this comes to an end, what are the possibilities for Bitcoin? What are the possibilities for these ETFs? Yes, they've been dumping like 350 Bitcoin per day, but eventually this has to come to an end. And I think it will start to taper off. I think it's already started to taper off. And with those outflows coming to an end, hopefully we can see some really positive price action here. Now, if we take a look at what's been happening with the BlackRock ETF, we have seen it has reached $3.2 billion as the Bitcoin ETFs continue to draw investor interest there. So really positive numbers there for BlackRock. And they have been advertising, actually. If you follow Crypto Saving Expert on Instagram, you will see a video of BlackRock advertising their Bitcoin ETF on Wall Street, right next to the big bull on the side of the street. So that's really cool to see there. Really nice to see BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world, advertising Bitcoin ETFs and pushing Bitcoin as an investment vehicle. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. Let's look at what's been happening here. So this ETF analyst predicts all spot ETFs to survive the year. So there have been some conversations that these ETFs will kind of die off in 2024, and that there was a lot of excitement there was a lot of hype there, and there was a huge amount. There was 9 ETFs that went live first of all, and some analysts were saying, look, there's too much competition in this market now. Not all of these ETFs are going to be able to stay strong in a year's time, in 2 years' time. We're only going to be left with a few. But right now, this analyst is saying, look, we're going to be fine. All of the ETFs are going to survive the year. It's looking like a really positive one. So that's brilliant to see. Let's take a look at Cathie Woods and what Cathie Woods has to say, because this one's really important. Before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Here we are listening to Cathie Woods comparing gold to Bitcoin. Now, we've all heard this comparison before. Bitcoin is often called digital gold because Bitcoin, I've just moved my phone away from the microphone. I hope that hasn't been interfering. Gold has a limited supply, and so does Bitcoin. But the best thing about Bitcoin is Bitcoin has a fixed limited supply. We could suddenly find another gold mine somewhere and increase the supply of Bitcoin. Yes, it's fixed. Yes, there's a finite amount of gold on this planet. We could find more of it somewhere we didn't expect. We don't know. We could find places where we could mine gold that we've not found before. But with Bitcoin, it is in the code. It cannot be changed. There will only ever be 21 million. So this is why it's often compared to gold because of that supply, but Bitcoin's supply limit is even better. Let's take a look at what Cathie Woods has been saying about gold here. Now, we are seeing the Bitcoin to gold ratio increase massively, showing that what she has said here is this chart just shows you that even relative to gold, Bitcoin has been rising. There's now a substitution into Bitcoin, and we think that this is going to continue now that there is a much easier way, less friction-filled way to access Bitcoin. So she's referring to those spot Bitcoin ETFs there and saying, look, there's a huge amount of opportunity here. Bitcoin's been performing well, and these ETFs remove a barrier to entry that means this asset could perform incredibly well within the next bull market. So big opportunities there. Being devil's advocate here, just for a small period of time, you all know that I'm super bullish on Bitcoin. I think looking at a Bitcoin to gold ratio is an interesting way to view this, because Bitcoin is an asset that started down at 0 and now has a market cap up at $840 billion. So like, if you're looking at this chart and saying, look, this shows that Bitcoin is better than gold, it's a bit of a strong conclusion to come to, given that Bitcoin's grown massively from 0 to 80 billion. So obviously with any kind of asset that's had that growth, the chart compared to anything is going to look good. It's going to look positive. The ratio is going to increase because this asset's come out of nowhere within the last 10 years or so. So I think the conclusion is strong. I would say the conclusion is slightly biased, but I still agree with the conclusion. Bitcoin is better than gold. We can transfer it much more easily, and it has a stronger limited supply. Let's take a look at what she's been saying in terms of these ETFs. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. What we've got, Justin P says in the chat, what's the highest mystery box anyone has purchased from the store? Any big whales bite on the $1 million box? I don't know. I believe I would have been told if someone bought the $1 million mystery box. What this is referring to is, we'll come back to this article in just a second, is on the Crypto Saving Expert merch store. If you go to cryptosavingexpert.store and take a look at what's going in the essentials, I think the mystery box are. If you go to the bottom of the essentials list, you will see that we have some mystery boxes here. So these contain a mixture of things from the Crypto Saving Expert website. Not all of them do, because we have the 50, 100, 250 pound mystery boxes. Those, I believe, are filled with CSE stuff. Lots of Crypto Saving Expert merch. And we have said for these boxes, let's see, every box offers a unique adventure, the perfect addition to your mystery. So let's see if we can find it. I think on the lower price boxes, say for a £50 box, for example, the value of the stuff inside this box is higher than $50, the retail value. So you get some good bargains in there, and you get some exciting prices as well. But we have decided to go a bit higher, increase the scales here. So we've got a £1,000 mystery box, and we've got a £10,000 mystery box there, and we've even gone higher to £100,000 mystery box and a £1 million mystery box. And we just decided to put these on the site for fun, because we thought, in a bull market, who knows what can happen? Someone may choose to buy one of these things, and we just want to put something super cool in there. I can't tell you the ideas that have been thrown around. We're not fully set on what is going to go in a £1 million mystery box. We've not gone out and put the £1 million item, but it'd be something crazy, and it'd be something super fun to see. Maybe in a bull market, who knows, someone will purchase that. But let's take a look at what is going on in this article anyway. Back to these spot Bitcoin ETFs. So we are talking about Kathy Woods and what she has been saying about these ETFs here. So she's saying, look, spot Bitcoin ETFs remove a barrier for entry for Bitcoin, so there's huge potential here. Completely agree on that. She's saying also, look, Bitcoin to gold ratio is increasing massively. Bitcoin should be compared to gold. It is the digital gold. It has the maximum supply. It has all of these advantages. You can also transfer it peer-to-peer across the world instantaneously. You can't do that with gold, so there's huge advantages to Bitcoin. She's also saying, look, when we saw the US banking crisis in March 2023, people were actually using Bitcoin as a flight to safety, and this is super bullish news. So let's touch on this quickly. Back in March 2023, Silicon Valley Bank went down, a number of other US banking stocks plummeted, and there's a huge amount of fear in the banking industry. Essentially, some of these banks had to realize their unrealized losses and take some huge losses, and their banking stocks were dropping massively. Now, throughout that fear, Bitcoin pumped 40%. Now, what does that tell us? Well, Bitcoin came out of the 2008 financial crisis. It was created as a result of that financial crisis, we believe. And with that, that's brilliant, and it's an asset that's come out of that, and we can say, look, these are all the advantages of it, but we've never seen it actually be used in practice throughout a crisis, because since 2008, things have been pretty smooth sailing. So when we saw this 2023 US banking crisis, this national crisis, it was really interesting to see how Bitcoin responded to this. And Bitcoin responded incredibly well. And it seemed that people actually were using Bitcoin as a hedge against the risks that were in the traditional banking system. And that's really, really positive to see. That's what everybody that's pro-Bitcoin and pro-cryptocurrency has been saying it's there for, but we've not been actually seeing it being used in practice and seeing if people are actually following through with their word and choosing to use Bitcoin as that flight to safety. There was big question marks around that, and I had those questions too. We saw, look, Bitcoin came out of the 2008 financial crisis. This is fine, but are we actually going to be using it in another crisis? Will another crisis push us towards this incredibly volatile asset? Or will people just think, I need to get into anything that's the safest possible, take me away from Bitcoin, take me away from all of those volatile assets, I need to be in something as secure as possible? We didn't know how that was going to play out, but in March 2023, Bitcoin won that fight and people were seemingly using it as a flight to safety. So that was hugely positive and gave me as well, even as someone that's been working full-time in the space for 3 or 4 years now, so much more confidence in the asset because we hadn't seen it be playing out yet. So it was really important that we did see that, even when that was just like a nationwide scale. That gave a lot of confidence to people in the space. But before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's take a look at what else she is saying here. So Bitcoin's dip after the launch of ETFs was a sell the news event, says Kathy Woods. She says the reason we believe Bitcoin went down after the ETFs were introduced is because there was a lot of anticipatory, I can't even say that word, anticipatory buying before the Bitcoin ETFs came out. There was a bit of sell on the news that these are the trading types who just are very optimistic in that way, opportunistic in that way. So I wouldn't argue that it was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Bitcoin did go up in the days following the ETFs being accepted by the SEC. We have seen a pullback since then. I think that pullback was important for us to see as well. If we take a look at what happens with Bitcoin in bull markets, we see Bitcoin typically have 20 to 30% pullbacks in a bull market. And a lot of people very frequently in a bull market fall into the trap of thinking this time will be different. Last bull market, there were so many people shouting that we were in a super cycle and the bull market was going to last 3, 4, 5 years. And we were all looking at it like, is this trend going to break? Are we going to continue to the upside? What we learned from that is the trend is your friend until the end. These 4-year cycles have stuck around and they have not broken. A lot of people are looking at these ETFs and going, well, these institutions could buy up any dip and stop us from having these 20 to 30% pullbacks. And I think that 20% pullback, 22% pullback that we've just seen has kind of kicked people back into consciousness of the trend is still the same. The trend is your friend until the end. We are going to still see pullbacks in this bull market, and seeing that actually happen in the markets post ETF launch is really important to make us realize, look, let's not fall into that trap again. Let's not think that the trend is broken because something is different this time. I think believing it's different this time, so we're changed, so we need to just be up only mentality was a really easy trap to fall into. But we've now seen the reality of this. Let's see what's going on here. Whole City Group says, please don't forget about the Bitcoin ETF online course. I did pitch this to the team a couple of days ago. We are super busy internally at the moment, but it is something that has been added to the list. So I will follow up on that and see how soon we can get that out the door. Thank you very much for that suggestion there. Let's see. Jerome says, must be a Bugatti. Who knows? Let's see what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here today. We're going to run through these articles quickly. We've got 40 people watching today's stream on YouTube. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We are 40 minutes into today's stream. Usually my rants wait until a Friday, but I feel like I've been on a proper rant today, so I hope you have enjoyed. Let's see what's going on here. Ethereum name service partners with GoDaddy. So the Web2 domain tycoon has partnered with the Web3 domain giant. Let's take a look at this. So the ENS announced a partnership with a Web2 domain provider. Super positive here. I always like to see collaborations like this, and a lot of people were talking about this on cryptocurrency Twitter at the time yesterday. So I like to see things like this taking place, just making it easier for people to play around and just anything that involves Web 2 people, Web 2 projects, acknowledging and bringing Web 3 services onto their platform is a positive, because people that are only in Web 2 are going to go onto their platform and say, oh, let's check out this. What is this? And just do a little bit more digging. And I think any way we can kind of bridge people from Web 2 to Web 3 is really important. Having collaborations between the two industries helps us drive that. I think this may be a smaller example of that compared to others. For example, we can go on another rant here. Reddit did a brilliant example of how we can bridge people from Web 2 to Web 3 when they created Reddit collectibles. So they created some digital collectibles that people could buy online, just like you make any other bank purchase with your card number, your debit card number, just buying like you would buy any other product online. And then when people decided they wanted to sell their Reddit collectibles, people were often finding out, actually, these aren't just online images. These are NFTs. So they had to go to OpenSea or an NFT marketplace and sell their NFTs and interact with the blockchain. And that was a brilliant way that a Web 2 project brought people from Web 2 to Web 3 and forced people to kind of take a look at what blockchain is and look how easy it is to interact with the different blockchains. And seeing different Web 2 companies making that move and shifting people into Web 3 is exactly what I want to see. And that makes me so bullish on this space. I think we need to be focusing on this a whole lot more, because we have this industry right now, we have this cryptocurrency space right now where there are so many of us in here that are super, super bullish, but we are in our own little bubble and we need to find out how we can bring other people into this bubble. There are some sectors within the cryptocurrency space that a lot of people believe can help us do that, specifically the gaming industry. People that play traditional games may choose to get play to earn opportunities and move into the Web3 space. That's why play to earn games have such a powerful narrative at the start of each bull market. But I think it's really important to start putting more focus into how to transition people from Web 2 to Web 3, because without that and without the drive of adoption, how can the space grow? And if the space isn't growing, people lose interest. So we need to continually make sure we are driving the space forwards, getting new adoption, seeing how blockchain can be used in different industries, and continuing the growth of the space. Let's see what's going on in the live chat. Save with crypto, your message was just retracted. Please send it again and I'll give it a read. Let's see what's going on here. So moving on to the next article. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. We do these live streams every single weekday, and I would appreciate it if you tune in with us every single day. We educate you on what's going on in the cryptocurrency space. So I am here 24/7 learning about what's going on in the cryptocurrency news, and then I feed it all to you within an hour of the stream, and then you can go away and do all of your research on what else there is to do, because as I always say, in a bull market there is news coming at you in all angles. Should you be focusing on what's going on in the cryptocurrency news, or should you be looking at what the next meme coin is, or should you be looking at what sector is going to pump next and what tokens within that sector are going to pump next? There's so much to look at in a cryptocurrency bull market, and there's so much information being thrown at you at once. You need to find a way now at this point in the bull market to be able to educate yourself in the best way possible and in the most efficient way possible as well. So I personally believe, and I would recommend, listening to these live streams every single day to get your news insights of what's going on in the news and how the news could impact the tokens over the next 24 hours. And then joining the CSE Plus Discord, where we have traders discussing what their thoughts are on the immediate price action for Bitcoin, Ethereum. And we have others discussing what sectors are performing well right now, what ecosystems are performing well right now, what the most popular narrative is, and talking about the different sections of the space that are getting the most hype and seeing the best performing tokens. So there's lots of different ways you can look at the industry, and finding an efficient way to take a look at all of those different angles on the industry is the best way to be successful in a bull market. So that's why we've kind of created the Crypto Saving Expert website the way we have, hopefully so we can give you all of these views and angles and insights into the markets in the best way possible and in bite-sized form. So you get the news here, you get the kind of sector hype news in the Discord, and we are also starting to talk about airdrops a lot in the Discord as well, because this is being hyped a lot and this is a way to literally make free money. But you have to be careful, there are risks involved, there are some airdrops that are better than others, so we are breaking that down a lot in the CSE Plus Discord right now, so make sure to check that out if you have not done so already. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Safe with Crypto said Jordan published his video in the middle of your stream. You should give him a slap. I'm going to complain about that. He should not be doing that to me. Let's see what's going on here. Rob said, you and Randy Miss Team Crypto are both having a good rant in the streams. Lol. It's a good day for a rant, I'd say. I'm sure we'll have Miss Team Crypto on the stream again soon. I really enjoyed when she came on the stream, so I'm sure we'll have her back here soon. Monkey Nut says 30 likes. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We've got 37 watching the stream right now and only 24 likes, so please make sure to hit that like button. Let's see what's going on here. So the Federal Reserve needs more confidence before rate cuts. So what's been happening here? Essentially, the Fed said they are not cutting interest rates later last week it was. The days just go so fast in cryptocurrency. So they said they need more confidence before they cut interest rates. Let's explain this all in a little bit more detail. So inflation increased to 9.1% year on year in June 2022 in the US. That's incredibly high. And the US government said, look, we need to get this down to 2%. Now, how does the US government shrink the economy, get inflation down? Well, they have a tool, which is the interest rates. So if they increase interest rates, so people have to pay more interest on all of the loans, all of their mortgages, that means people have less liquid cash, less extra money to spend, because their extra money that they would usually spend has gone on paying that interest. So when people have less spare money, they're spending less money, and the economy is going to shrink, bringing down inflation. So that is the interest rates are essentially a tool for the Fed to reduce inflation. And that's what they needed to do. So they've been increasing interest rates over the last 2 years, trying to reduce that inflation, bringing it down from 9.1%. Now, they have been successful. They've been successful on that. Inflation has come down. I should know this, down to 3%, I want to say. It's come down significantly. The interest rates are now super high, and that has a knock-on effect. People are struggling because these interest rates are so high. This isn't something that can be sustained, and this is a huge problem. So people are wanting to see interest rates coming down because we have seen the positive effects that it's had on inflation right now. But the Fed need to do this right, because if they bring them down too quickly, inflation will increase again, and then it will be this whole thing. And they want to get it down as quick as possible and in a sustainable way. So these are the issues that we're seeing here. Now, when it comes to interest rates are inherently bad for the markets, because as I've just said, if interest rates are high, if people are spending more money on their interest for their loans and their mortgages, they have less spare cash to spend on things and on investing. So high interest rates are inherently bad for the markets, and the Fed have said, look, we need more confidence before we reduce the interest rates, because we need to know that the inflation rate is not just going to soar again, because then we would have to increase the interest rates again, and it would be a whole thing. Bringing the inflation rate down sustainably is the goal here. Now, there hasn't been too much confidence here, and we did discuss the employment rates in the US yesterday as well, so let's discuss that quickly. There was an expectation that there would be, and don't quote me on this, about 180,000 new jobs in January 2024, but instead there was about 360,000, so double what was expected for January 2024. Now, you may think this was a good thing. Unemployment rates went down from 3.7% to 3.6% in the US. And yes, this is a good thing for the everyday person. But in terms of inflation rates, this is a concern. If more people are employed, more people have cash to spend more money, which is going to increase the economy and increase inflation. So if unemployment rates are high, inflation is going to be low. This is the correlation they have. Obviously, there are other factors to consider. And if unemployment rates are low, so lots of people have jobs, inflation is going to be higher. This is the correlation they have. Now, obviously, the government wants people to be working. They also don't want inflation too high. So there is some sort of middle ground here to consider. As I just said, there are other factors here. This is not a one-to-one thing. So seeing unemployment drop at double the rate that they expected in January would have had an effect on their decisions with these interest rates. So right now they have chosen to keep interest rates the same for another 6 weeks. We will see how this plays out. They need more confidence here. I think it's important that we do have confidence because, as I said, having a sustainable drop in the inflation rate is super important. We don't want to see them bringing down the interest rate too fast again, because inevitably they will then need to drive it back up again. So let's see what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here today. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Is inflation not the amount of money printed? There's lots of impacts here that we need to consider. If the economy is growing, inflation is increasing. Inflation is also the amount of money printed. So when we're looking at the rate of inflation, we're looking at the cost of goods compared to the amount the same basket of goods would have costed a year ago when we're looking at the year-on-year changes. So when I say inflation was 9.1% in June 2022, we're saying the same basket of, if you went into your local supermarket and bought a basket of goods, the value of that basket of goods has increased 9.1% since the year before. So if it cost $100 in June 2021, it now costs $109.10 in June 2022. So that's kind of how we're looking. That's what the inflation rates are year on year. There are a number of factors into the inflation rates, but interest rates are the tool that we use to try and combat this. And let's see what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here. So we have seen the re-election of the president in El Salvador, the guy that made Bitcoin a legal tender back in 2020, I want to say. Do we have a date on here for when he made Bitcoin legal tender? 2021, the court overturned the rule which bans the president from serving 2 consecutive terms as president. I don't know what year he made Bitcoin legal tender, but he did. Hopefully we will see more pushes to get Bitcoin used more by the everyday person in El Salvador. We did see a huge push when they initially made Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador. We saw an application be launched, which meant that anybody from El Salvador could download the app and get $10 free Bitcoin or something like this, something around this value. And that was brilliant. A lot of people actually downloaded that application, got that application, and spent their $10 in Bitcoin. But a lot of them chose not to use that app again, not to use Bitcoin again. So we have seen the drive of adoption here. I do believe that we have seen a first mover advantage here. We haven't seen it be fully played out yet. But I think El Salvador have made a big step forward here. If Bitcoin does play out the way that we expect it to, they could have a huge advantage for taking on this asset first and really being the first country to push the adoption of this asset. But let's see what else is going on here in the cryptocurrency news. So what we've got here is a warning of bluffering. A hacker claims to access user info on exchanges. So let's take a look at this. The individual claims that one individual, somewhere in the world, claims that they can issue emergency data requests to several top exchanges and social media platforms. So according to a report, a cyber criminal has claimed to have access to Codex Global, a law enforcement request account, which they can abuse to send EDRs. In this scenario, the hacker could send EDRs for Binance, Coinbase, Discord, and several other companies. Now, this hacker seems to be selling access here. So, according to Hudson Rock, the hacker is manipulating the alleged access for financial gain. The report stated that the individual is selling access to Codex Global for $5,000 or is fulfilling one-time EDRs for $300. This potentially opens up a black market for cryptocurrency exchange accounts and Discord accounts. For example, gaining access to a Discord account with special privileges in a crypto project server puts members at risk from potential wallet draining links being posted and other methods criminals use to siphon crypto assets. So essentially, if the account of if there's a Discord community for a leading project and somebody manages to get into the founder's Discord account and post some links in there, people in that community are going to believe that link is legit, and that could be a phishing scam. So we do need to be careful here, especially with this news coming out. Just be extra cautious when you are seeing links be posted. Always try and use links from official websites. Just be extra cautious with this news now in mind. I wouldn't put it past. Just be careful. We don't know how true this is. It could all just be like a full bluff. But just be cautious in the markets, as we always say. Best practices should always be used. Let's take a look here. Codex Global is a platform law enforcement and regulars use as a go-between for communication. If the claim is genuine, it opens the door for much more than just stolen crypto assets. Users could be subject to identity theft, blackmail, or more due to sensitive information falling into the wrong hands. So this is a really huge article here that Mixers needs to highlight right now. Just be as safe as possible in the cryptocurrency space. Don't click on any links. This could be a complete bluff. So I mean, I'm taking this with a pinch of salt. This is just one guy saying, look, I have access here. Do you actually have access? I could say I have access too. Just be careful, but just always practice on the safe side of caution. Don't take any risks. I always say that since FTX. I wasn't actually exposed to FTX, but we did see there was concern around FTX before it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and being on the right side of caution is always worthwhile within the cryptocurrency space. Use it just in any scenario. But let's see what else is going on in the crypto space here. So Hong Kong issues ultimatum to unlicensed crypto exchanges. So Hong Kong SFC tells crypto exchanges to apply for a license before March or risk closing down. So the Hong Kong SFC on Monday published a notice warning unlicensed crypto exchanges to submit their applications on or before the 29th of February. The SFC tells investors to make preparations early. The submissions don't guarantee approval, but we have seen Hong Kong be super friendly to the cryptocurrency space. I was in Hong Kong just over a month ago, and there was lots of shops that were accepting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There were Bitcoin like ATM stores essentially. Some of them shut down, but Hong Kong have really made a push for cryptocurrency within the last year. They've invited cryptocurrency companies to operate in the region. They've invited their banks to work with cryptocurrency exchanges and companies. So they have been so pro cryptocurrency and pro Bitcoin. They want to drive adoption in that region. So hopefully we do see that continue. Let's take a look at what's going on in this final article here. Last one of the day, Ripple must share financial statements requested by the SEC. The court has ruled. So the statements will help a judge determine if institutional sales of XRP after the SEC lawsuit was filed in 2020 broke securities law, the SEC said in its request. We'll see how this plays out. Obviously, the XRP lawsuit has been going on for a very, very long time now. We have seen the courts rule in favour of Ripple and XRP in the middle of last year, deeming XRP not to be a security in 3 or 4 instances. That was a huge win for the cryptocurrency space, but it was not the end of this lawsuit. Ripple have been fighting not only for XRP, but for the entire cryptocurrency space. So for that, I am very much grateful for what Ripple have been doing throughout this lawsuit. Hopefully, Ripple do come on top, because I think this sets a precedent for the rest of the cryptocurrency space. But this has been going on for so long. Hopefully we find an answer to this in 2024, and it is a positive one for the space. Now let's move on to the price of Bitcoin, because we need to talk about what's going on with the Bitcoin price here. This is the chart that we drew in yesterday's stream. If you take a look at this, it's played out pretty nicely right now. We did have a fake out yesterday, just around 2 p.m. there, but we have come back into this chart pattern, used the level of support perfectly, and used the level of resistance perfectly. So I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing this triangle is still in play. So this is on 1 hour chart. This gives us a level of resistance at $43,070, a level of support at $42,400, and this triangle ends on the at 11 p.m. on Friday this week. Now, if we take a look at this is a symmetrical triangle. We came into it from the downside, which means we have a higher probability of breaking to the upside and continuing on the same pattern. This is a continuous chart pattern, which means the same trend from prior to being in the chart pattern has a higher probability of continuing there. So we should be looking, fingers crossed, at that resistance breaking before that level of support. If we zoom out onto the daily chart, you can see we have a strong zone of support here that we've been keeping an eye on. This is between $42,000 and $40,800. We've used this once again, super strong level of support. Will be interesting to see if we do manage to break through down below that within the next couple of months. In terms of levels of resistance on the daily chart, we're looking at that $44,230. My honest prediction pre-halving is that $50,000 is the maximum. It's not set in stone. Things could change. This is just my own personal opinion. I do believe that this is probably the maximum for the next couple of months. I do believe that we could be in for some bearish momentum here. I don't know how long we'll be able to stay above this level of support, but if we do eventually start to break to the downside of it here, there are some levels to be looking at. I'm looking at the $38,000 level, the $35,500, and that $34,000 level there. Now that $34,000 level is in white because this is a key point for traders. If Bitcoin hits $34,000, a huge amount of traders are going to be liquidated. If we take a look at this chart here, you can see this yellow zone here. A huge amount of traders will be liquidated at $34,000. It could cause a huge wick to the downside. It could cause a liquidation event where we do momentarily dip even further down. But I think for me, that is kind of towards the bottom of my lowest range that we would see here. I wouldn't expect to go too much lower than that. But that's what we're looking at on the chart at the moment. Bitcoin's looking healthy. We're in a symmetrical triangle on the smaller time frame. Has a higher probability of breaking to the upside there. I think being within this price range here wouldn't shock me if we stayed in this for the rest of the week, for the start of next week. I think we are in for some sideways action here, so just be prepared for that. I think that's the end of today's stream. I think that's all we've got for today's stream. Let's take a look at Ethereum quickly before we close off today's stream. If we take a look at this on the daily chart, let's see if we've got anything super strong going on here, or maybe on the 1 hour chart. Let's see what's going on the funner time frames. Let's see if we can pull these wicks together nicely. Have we got any crucial levels here? I think what we need to be looking at here, see, when I draw my lines, they either jump out to me or they don't. And if they don't jump out to me, I'm not confident in them. So here, for example, I'm confident in this here. If we pull this right across here, you can see this has been used a lot of times. So we've been using this back down here, January 23rd, January 25th, Feb 1st, and then 4th, 5th of Feb, and 5th of Feb again. So that's been used as a strong level of support. That is currently at 22,000. 22,000, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? A support of 22,000. $2,290 there for Ethereum. So I'll keep an eye on that. In terms of levels of resistance, we can see we do have some horizontal levels of resistance here. We are currently at one right now. We have a whole zone here, I would say. If we're looking at between here and here, you can see this is a zone of importance. We've used it here, here, we've used it again here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So here, lots of here's there, but this is a crucial zone here for Ethereum. If we manage to break up above this and use this zone as a level of support, then we could be in for a nice treat here. And as I always say, when Bitcoin's had a nice move to the upside and starts to see some sideways action, that's when some high cap coins can really start to perform well. We've seen that frequently in the market. So just because I'm saying, look, Bitcoin might be a little bit boring for a couple of weeks, doesn't mean there's going to be no excitement in the market. So I'm trying to diversify and look at other options right now. And I'm also comparing the high cap coins against the Bitcoin value, not just their dollar value as well. But I think that's all we have for today's stream. We've officially hit over an hour, so I think that's time to close off. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I hope you have enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Moulton says, please tell about Solana. We told about Solana right at the start of today's stream. If you rewind to the start, you'll be able to see what's happening there. But essentially, the network is down. No new blocks are being added onto the blockchain right now. It went down at 9:52 UTC time today. We have seen this before in Solana's history. No transactions can at the moment be processed on chain. We still can make transactions off chain, so through centralized exchanges. So some people are shorting, some people are longing right now. You can still make off-chain transactions. We have seen this before. Typically, it's all sorted within 24 hours. Hopefully, this will be the case again. I don't know how big the long-term flood effects will be on this. Obviously, people not being able to have access to their funds and being able to move their funds does make people feel fearful and make people maybe potentially want to sell. Does this mean that's the end of the Solana network? No, I think that community is super strong. They have lots of projects in the ecosystem that are performing super well at the moment. So I'm not too concerned about it in the long term, but it's still not a project that I've invested into or plan to invest into. And you can find out more about that if you go back to the start of today's stream. But that was just a quick recap. So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. And I'll